let me take a moment to introduce our guest for today. So today we have with us Miss Shreya Shah. By education, she has done her BSc and she's postgraduate in dietetics, a clinical nutritionist and certified diabetes educator. So she is a postgraduate in dietetics and is a consulting nutritionist and a clinical dietitian, certified diabetes educator, wellness coach, and a public speaker. Uh, Previously, she had interned with KEM Hospital in Parel, Mumbai, and also in by Zerabai Wadia Hospital for Children, that too in Parel also. So during her 5 year stint at LH Hiranandani Hospital, she was very instrumental in setting up a department. She also trained many patients and healthcare professionals in diabetes management, which we would be discussing in our session today. And in early 2019, she had started her entrepreneurship journey and launched diet advice under the brand Healthfuel. The mission of her adventure is to educate people on good eating habits and clearing off many misconceptions and myths that exist around the world of nutrition. So we will be discussing about these misconceptions and myth at length. And she has also appeared on media channels of the likes of ET Now, and she has been instrumental in educating the masses. And she also used to conduct, she also conducts workshop for corporates. The idea is to educate more and more employees because their professional life is more of a sedentary kind of, and they struggle with the health issues. So on that front, also she is rigorously working. So a very warm welcome, Shreya. Just in case I missed out anything on your introduction, would request that and your opening note, please.
No. Hello, Prince, and thank you for such a lovely introduction. I mean, thanks for hosting me on this space. And as they say that, health is the real wealth, and we are obviously going to take up too many basic topics related to health, food, nutrition, and maybe bust a lot of myths around it. So I think I will go ahead with a simple introduction about why health, why eating healthy, why good food, good nutrition is so important in our day-to-day lives. To start with, health is wealth. I think we all have realized this a little more after the pandemic. Uh, and a healthy lifestyle is essential to be healthy, happy, and disease-free. uh, I think to reduce risk of any kind of disease or lifestyle problem, one important simple solution is try and manage your lifestyle, try and manage your eating habits, and I think we can, deal with a lot of diseases without any medicines also. So one simple question that I usually ask to most of my patients, when they say that, I am not in good health, and I just ask them, how do you measure your health? What is an indicator of good health? And I think most of us and most of the people who are listening to this space also, what we do is we'll just go on, a weighing scale and track ourselves. So if you're on a higher side on a scale, we'll just label ourselves as, no, I'm not healthy and I need to lose weight. But is it the only indicator of good health? Like, I mean, just tracking yourself or just defining yourself with a number on a scale as, I think, not enough. There are so many factors that would be so important if we want to tell or if we want to understand whether we are healthy or unhealthy. So some simple factors that would be very important to understand would be like, how are your energy levels all throughout the day? Do you get tired after your breakfast, after your lunch, and second half of the day you're just, coping up with your energy levels and finishing up your work? How is the quality of sleep? Are you dependent on a sleeping pill, or are you dependent on any kind of medicine for the quality of sleep that you target? Or do you wake up fresh in the morning? Are you very fresh and happy in the morning, or are you very tired, drained, and lethargic even after an 8 hours of sleep? The other question is, do you understand your hunger and fullness cues? Now currently we all are into such a busy lifestyle that we don't understand what time we should eat, what quantity which we should eat, or whether we are full after eating that meal or we still want to eat a little more. So we don't understand, or we have just we just don't have good relationship with our body, where we have stopped listening to our body. Do you have acidity, constipation, gut issues? These are factors which are something which are indicative whether you're in good health or whether you need to work or you need to improvise on your health. So to understand whether you're on a right track or not, I think these basic questions are something you need to understand, or you need to ask yourself, rather than just tracking yourself on a weighing scale.
Right, Shreya. So the most basic question which I think most of us struggle is where to start, right? Because people feel like they need to improve on their health, right? They have that thing in mind. They run after googling and maybe finding out text about health and talking to people, but again they are still struggling where to start. So what should be an ideal way to start when you find out? Or maybe health is something like even if you are healthy, then also you need to maintain, right? So what should
Right.
be the starting point and how we should go about it?
Uh, to start with, I think be it a healthy lifestyle or be it healthy eating, one simple thing is that you have to start small. You cannot do all the things together, or you cannot target all the things together. If you try and do target everything together, what will happen is you may sustain it for a week or maybe 10 days or a month. But after that, you are going to give up, because that's going to be like an added stress factor. The healthy lifestyle or healthy eating habits have to be very much effortless and easygoing, rather than like an added stress. Oh, मुझे अभी diet भी करना है. Oh, मुझे ये भी follow करना है. मुझे exercise करना है 30 minutes. So it's like stress. We don't want stress in our life. We already have too many stress factors or stress triggers in our life. So your eating, your food should be something wherein you derive your peace from, you derive your good health from, and not something that has to stress you. So one simple thing that, from where you start is try and, stick to more of home cooked meals. One. Second, that I usually advise most of my patients would be that, detox your kitchen. Our kitchen is like, I would say, our kitchen ingredients are one of the best tools that we can use to revamp our health or improvise our health. So simple things that we need to correct in our kitchen. If you try and just after this session, if you just go and see your kitchen, I'll just tell you what all things you have to look for and what all things you should replace in your kitchen with a healthy alternative. Like one simple thing, basic medium जिसमें खाना बनता है, oil. कौन से टाइप का ऑयल घर पे यूज होता है, अभी अवेयर अबाउट इट? व्हाट टाइप ऑफ ऑयल इज यूज्ड? हाउ फ्रीक्वेंटली डू वी buy oil? How much is the consumption in the family? I think that is one thing that we need to try and find out and work upon. So if you are someone who consumes refined oil, I would just suggest try and shift to a better alternative, which would be something like a filtered oil or a cold pressed oil, which is like loaded with less toxins and less chemicals, less processed. So that is one thing. Second is obviously if you are someone who likes ghee और आपके घर पे घी बनता है, homemade ghee, then I would obviously suggest that is another good thing that you should try and include in your diet. Homemade ghee and not something that is sold in the market, because the market one that we get is hydrogenated fat. Second thing that you have to look for is obviously we have a lot of things in our fridge. Now when I talk about the the foods that are available in our fridge would be the ready to eat food packets, ketchup, mayonnaise, or maybe the Chinese sauces. So try and not buy those things, because what happens is easy availability obviously sometimes try whenever things are easily available to you, that becomes like a convenience food to you. So if you're stocking up your fridge with unhealthy stuff, obviously the first thing that you're going to pick up and eat would be those kind of foods. Third, we find a lot of processed food in our kitchen, like chips हो गया या फिर mixture हो गया, फरसान हो गया, biscuits हो गया, rusk हो गया, ये सारी चीजें are like easy options of food that are available. So if you're working from home and if you're hungry, the first thing that you will do is you will go in the kitchen. You will raid your kitchen and what you will find is biscuit. Okay, easy option, let me just pick up and eat. And somewhere those biscuits are loaded with so much of salt and sugar that they are going to make you eat more and more of those. So try and replace those things with healthy alternatives like the normal roasted kurmura or makhana, roasted chana, the dry fruits, nuts, fruits hai. So try and stock your kitchen with these kind of food items which are like a healthy distraction also, and even if you're eating them, you will not be able to overdo with it. Third is we see a lot of aerated drinks and packet juices in the kitchen, or they're convenient. कि कोई guest भी आया तो you can just pull it out from the fridge and give it. But they're loaded with sugar. So अगर आप एक अच्छी lifestyle, healthy lifestyle follow कर रहे हो हर जगह, you're avoiding unhealthy food. But if you're drinking that glass of juice, you're just compensating for whatever good things that you have done in that day. So try and do not stock up with those kind of unhealthy processed packet juices and I would say aerated drinks. They're the most unhealthiest things that you can put in your body. So I think starting from your kitchen is something very simple. Try and bring in those simple changes which will not only benefit you but the whole family. Because there is a little awareness. Okay, मुझे ये करना है, मेरे kitchen में ये सारी चीजें होनी चाहिए, which is good for my health and everyone's health. So automatically you are not eating unhealthy or you're not putting unhealthy stuff in your body, and that unhealthy stuff or junk food will come into picture only when you're moving out of the house and not when you're within the house. At least you're taking care of that.
Right, truly said. So, Shreya, three things basically: diabetes, fatty liver, and acidity. These are very common problem these days, and
Hmm.
I don't think any house is left with wherein we do not
Hmm.
find anyone who is experiencing these kind of things. So what are the main
Right.
reasons you see as far as diet is concerned, and how we can start working on so as to improve or maybe eliminate these issues in every household?
Right. Now, when we pick up something like gut issues like acidity hai, bloating hai, या फिर constipation hai, the reason for this is obviously one is food and the other is the stress levels. And abhi agar aap majorly what we see right now is most of us our eating habits are like in front of screen. या तो हम लैपटॉप के सामने खा रहे हैं, या तो हम फोन के सामने खा रहे हैं, या तो कुछ नहीं है तो हम टीवी के सामने खा रहे हैं. So obviously that is also going to affect the speed of eating. So I usually call this as, when you're eating food, it is something which is very sacred thing and which is very which has to be very peaceful and which has to be somewhere wherein you're concentrating on your plate and not around the distraction. So when it comes to acidity, bloating, and constipation, it's like we are just eating, we are not seeing the plate, we are just putting in food in our body and we are seeing the screen. So screen पे जैसे scenes रहेंगे वैसे ही हमारे thoughts होंगे and वैसे ही वही pace पे हम खाएंगे. So if you're watching something emotional, you will eat slowly. If you're watching something which is very violent, very aggressive, you will eat fast. So first thing, for the gut issues, for managing your gut issues is slow down, concentrate on the plate, chew your food really, really well because most of the digestive process starts from our mouth. So if you're not chewing well your food, you're not going to digest your food well, you're not going to absorb the nutrients well. And fourth thing is obviously manage your stress better. So one simple trick that I usually suggest is deep breathing, 5 deep breaths prior to your meals. Before you start your meal, sit at a table where there are no distractions. You can eat with your family, that's not a problem. Take 5 deep breaths, see what is being served on your plate, and tell yourself that now you're going to eat that food which is going to give you good nutrition, good health, and I'm going to chew this food really well. So chew your food really, really well. So the moment you start chewing them better, automatically the digestion is taken care of. Second, when it comes to gut issues or when it comes to acidity, the long gaps between our meals. Like, if we are late in the morning, we skip our breakfast. If we are busy in a meeting, we skip our lunch. But that's not how it is. You have to try and eat at regular intervals, whatever best suits your body. You don't have to starve yourself, because the moment you starve yourself, automatically there is going to be a lot of acid buildup that is going to happen in the body, and which is going to come up in the form of either acidity or bloating or something like an acid reflux. So try and see to it that you are eating at regular intervals. Third is drink enough water. So we usually are so busy with our work that sometimes we tend to, you know, forget to drink water also. So try and drink water. And when you drink water also, please don't gulp it down. Drink it in a relaxed way. Drink it very slowly, sip by sip. So drinking water, your eating habits, your sleep. Your sleep will play a major role in, you know, I think not only for your gut issues, but for your lifestyle, managing your lifestyle diseases also. If you are sleeping for good 7 hours and your sleep is like good sound sleep, the quality of sleep will also be very, very important. So when you sleep, your body repairs, your body throws off toxins, your body heals, and all your metabolic activities happen very nicely if you're sleeping good. But if your sleep is compromised, automatically all everything is going to go for a toss. So sleep again would play a very important role in managing the lifestyle problems that we are facing. And obviously, along with all this, exercise is another strong pillar which is going to help us, because we are just at our desk for long hours, like 4 to 5 hours. We are just at a stretch working at one place. So if there is not going to be any bodily movement, automatically the blood circulation is not going to be great. And if the blood circulation is not going to be great, the delivery of nutrients is not going to be great. And automatically there are going to be a lot of lifestyle diseases or lifestyle issues that we are going to face. So simple thing that you have to do is every 30 to 45 minutes, get up from your desk and just move around for 5 minutes, go for a walk and come back. Or maybe if you're drinking good amount of water, obviously the washroom visits are taken care of. That is another thing that you can do. Post meals, try and see that you walk for 10 to 15 minutes. It has to be a relaxed walk. But these all simple things are something which are going to help our lifestyle problems, resolve our lifestyle problems very easily. I know these are very simple habits and they sound very much known and understood, but the important part is how much are we implementing in our day to day life? Are we even picking up one of those and doing it regularly? I think if you try and trace out, we don't do it. We don't try and consciously put efforts towards those things, and that is why we land up with uh, these lifestyle problems.
Right, sure. So one point I would ask, like, there are
Hmm.
many people who start their day with a tea, right? Milk
Hmm.
tea, basically. So, is it a good start to
Hmm.
the day, or you have some different opinion? And secondly, you talked
Hmm.
about long gaps, right? So
Hmm.
there are like, I mean, people talk about that you should have two meals with a gap of say 8 hours and intermittent fasting kind of thing. So if we can, I mean, relate it the gap with that thing, so what would be your review on that? And thirdly, how much water is enough? How we should decide? Like, there are times people under drink, or there are times where they are too much focused that they keep on drinking water.
Right. Coming to the first point, starting your day with tea or coffee or any kind of caffeine. So, according to me, it's a complete no-no. The reason being, supposedly you have your last meal by 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 8 p.m. After that, your body goes into a long fasting phase of 8 to 10 hours. After that long fasting phase, what you're doing is you're putting in caffeine into your body. So during that fasting phase, that there is a lot of toxins that have built up. There's a lot of acids that have built up.
Sorry to Shreya, please speak once so that the attendees can write in the comments whether
Uh,
you are
can
audible.
you am I audible now? Is it clear?
Guys, you can also tell us about whether you are able to hear or not. You can simply do that by the thumb smiley, any smiley, or maybe raising your thumb any way you want to, or maybe you can write in the comments. I think Shreya, you can start, right? So meanwhile, if they had an issue, they will write it themselves. Both are audible, yeah. So
Yes,
we
yes,
can continue,
no
right?
problem. Yes, yes,
People will keep on joining
right,
meanwhile, yeah.
right.
Okay.
So to start with, your first question was whether we should start our day with any kind of caffeine like tea or coffee. Is it a right thing to do or not? So my answer here would be I would say a no. Do not start your day with any kind of caffeine, be it tea, coffee, or green tea. The reason being, if we are having a last meal, supposedly by 9 p.m. or 8 p.m., after that our body goes into a long fasting phase. Now, breaking your fast with a cup of tea or any kind of caffeine is not a great way because it's like you are just lining your stomach with something which is going to block the absorption of the nutrients. So you're starting your day with something which is not going to let the nutrient absorption happen. Second is it's like body ka machine सुबह just start हो रहा है and you are putting in a medicine that will suppress the metabolism. So I am not saying that you should avoid tea, coffee, but just do not start your day with something like tea and coffee. The other reason being the long fasting phase leads to a lot of acid built up and a lot of toxins that are built up in our body. And when we start with something like tea and coffee, we are just trying to contribute towards those toxins and not trying to clear up those toxins. So, one simple thing that you should do in the morning, or you should start your first thing that you should start your day with, is a simple glass of normal water and not something like tea and coffee. After that, line your stomach with something like fruit or dry fruits or maybe something like soaked raisins to start with, which will just line up your stomach or line up your intestine in a good way. And then after that, you can have your tea, coffee. And specifically see to it that you keep a gap of like 15 to 20 minutes between your fruit and your caffeine. So ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि फ्रूट खाया and just 5 minutes में you have your tea or coffee. Obviously, what will happen is the tea or the caffeine would block the absorption of nutrient absorption of the fruits also. So a simple thing that you should do is start your day with a glass of normal water or lukewarm water, whatever you are comfortable with. Maybe after 10-15 minutes of that, you can have one whole fruit. One simple fruit that you can eat is like banana, which is available all around the clock. Or maybe if you are not comfortable eating a fruit, you can just have something like dry fruits, which can be like soaked almonds or soaked nuts or soaked black raisins. And after that, maybe 15 to 20 minutes post that, you can have your tea or coffee or green tea, whatever you like. The second question that you asked me is like about the long gaps, or maybe there are many people who follow intermittent fasting. So, what about that? Now, when we talk about intermittent fasting is a lifestyle that you are following. I am not against intermittent fasting. I am just saying it has to be a lifestyle for you. If it is a lifestyle for you, then please do follow. It cannot be something jahan pe you follow it for a week or 3 months and then you will be like, no, I'll go back to my old eating method and eating every 2 hours. So you have to try and train your body and adapt it accordingly. If you feel that fasting for 16 hours or fasting for 10 hours or 8 hours, 10 hours is something that you're comfortable with and your body is feeling more energetic and more at peace, and your brain is more sharp and there's no brain fog, then obviously intermittent fasting is something that you can go ahead with. And even when you're following intermittent fasting as a lifestyle, try and see that that fasting also has to be broken in a similar way. It is not that just because you're doing intermittent fasting during that 8 hours window period or 6 hours of window period, you can eat anything and everything and your health would be taken care of. It's not like that. The fasting phase is okay, but when you break the fast and when you are in that eating window period, see to it you're eating good and healthy stuff and not stuffing yourself with unhealthy things.
Right. So, I mean, naming, I won't. I think Dr. Dixit. So his
Mm.
theory the time of 55 minutes within which you have your one meal, right? And he
Hmm.
related it with the, I mean, what we say, insulin generation.
Uh, I lost you. Hello. I can't hear you, Prince. Yes, now you're
Sorry,
audible.
sorry. It was some network issue on my part, I guess. So, Shreya,
No
so
problem.
so you got my question, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear your
Okay,
question.
so I was saying I was talking about the theory which
Hmm.
Dr. Dixit believes in. So he was like, the
Hmm.
meal has to be consumed within a span of 55 minutes, whatever you want to eat at one point in time, and after that you maintain a gap of 8 hours for next meal. So he is a proponent of two meals a day, right?
Hmm.
So his point
Right.
of view is like the generation of insulin, right? So every time we eat, the body generates or maybe creates insulin, whatever the process is. So the more we
Right.
eat, the more insulin is secreted or generated, whatever it is. So do you agree with the
Hmm.
concept, or do you have your own understanding on this?
Right. Uh, First thing is, obviously, Dr. Dixit's diet is something wherein you just have two meals in a day, and those two meals can be large meals which you have to finish in 55 minutes. And that can have anything and everything on the plate. So, I would just say that for diabetics to go ahead and follow such a plan would be something which can be dangerous. I am like I would not say that I recommend Dixit diet to anyone. And specifically, this Dixit diet had come up for diabetics. And for diabetics, we do not, recommend such fasting, such long fasting gaps. That is one thing. Second, obviously, if you're trying to do something like this, hope it is sustainable for long term. As I told at the start also that whatever you're following or whatever lifestyle habits that you pick up, see to it that you can continue all your life, if not all your life, at least 3 to 5 years. If you are someone who is going to follow it for 2 years or maybe just few weeks and then give up, it's like you are trying doing some kind of trial and error on your body. And the other thing is, everyone's body is very much unique and very much individualized. So for some people, the long fasting hours works in their body's favor. For some people, they cannot starve themselves for 8 hours or 9 hours or maybe 6 hours also. They need to eat very frequently. So what we have to do is you have to step back and you have to understand what your body's demands are. What is something that will keep you in good health, that will keep your energy levels good, that will, keep your mental clarity good, that will keep your sleep intact. If following two meals in a day is something that's more convenient to you and is taking care of the clinical parameters, then please go ahead and do it. But for a diabetic, I would not say a total yes. No, no. I mean, Dixit diet is not good for anyone who is diabetic.
Right, ma'am. And the quantity of water, how much is enough?
Quantity of water, one simple trick that you can follow is 1 glass of water every hour during the day, and approximately somewhere around 2.5 liters to 3 liters in a day. That is how I think that is a recommended thing that you can follow. But if you don't remember, then I think 1 glass of water every hour is the simplest thing to follow.
Right. And these days, fatty liver is very, very common, right? Even for people who are, I mean, not drinking or having any such alcoholic background, they also like experience this kind of issue. What could be a potential reason and how this can be taken care of?
uh, when we talk about fatty liver, what happens, what specifically happens, obviously the major contributing factor is the sedentary lifestyle. And sedentary lifestyle, no movement, no exercise, and then it's like we are into a work pattern wherein we don't eat all during the day, matlab, eat during the day, but at the end of the day, when we are done with our work, when we are done with our office work and all our commitments, we come home and binge eat, or maybe we have large meals at night. So And those meals are obviously loaded with lot of carbs, and that could be refined carbs also. So that is one thing. Second, when we say fatty liver, specifically for people who are not into, who do not have habits like drinking and smoking, then for them, I would just say that, excess of fat in the body also sometimes leads to it. Because क्या होता है कि when there is too much of fat in the body and there's not enough space, the excess fat just goes and sits in your liver. And when you do an ultrasound, you get diagnosed with like grade 1 fatty liver. Now, what you are being recommended by the doctor is go for a low fat diet and please reduce 5 to 6 kgs, and these, fatty liver would be reversed. That's the simple thing that you have to do. Now, when we talk about weight loss, what we have to do is try and eat whole foods, good food, eat timely, manage our lifestyle, manage our sleep pattern. So indirectly, obviously, the lifestyle is something that I will say is a contributing factor towards fatty liver also.
Right. Now coming
Hmm.
to balanced diet, right? So
Hmm.
what constitutes of a balanced diet? And there are myths which do rounds like whatever is healthy is not tasty. So do you agree with the statement, and what's your view on this?
Okay. So when we talk about balanced diet includes five simple components to it, which can be like your five fingers: carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals. So if your plate has all five of these, then it's called a balanced diet. Now, depending upon your activity levels, obviously the amount of carbs that you consume or the amount of protein that you have to consume will differ. And the other thing, there's a new study which says that the sequence in which you eat your food would also matter, the way it works for your body. So when we talk about balanced meal, carbohydrate. When we talk about carbohydrate, it's like there are two kind of carbs: complex carbs and simple carbs. When we talk about complex carbs, they are something which is like a fuel for our body, which is very important source of fiber in our body, and which is something you should not compromise on. These complex carbs will come from your whole grains, something like your millets, like अगर आप ज्वार खाते हो, बाजरे की रोटी खाते हो, मक्के की रोटी खाते हो, these all things are source of complex carbs. Your fruits, your vegetables are source of complex carbs. Now, when we talk about simple carbs, or you know the simple ones, they come from your refined flour or anything that is like maida based, simple carbs. So maida based, like refined flour की जैसे noodles भी मिलती है, Maggi है, ready to eat food items, they'll be loaded with a lot of refined flour. So simple. And obviously the sugary drinks or cakes, pastries, muffins, they are all loaded with lot of sugar, which is again simple carbs. So now what you have to do is you have to choose the complex over the simple carbs. So I would not say that you have to go no carb or zero carb, because your carb is a very good source of energy. So please do not zero down on your carbs. Just make a wise choice between your simple and wise choice of going for complex carbs in your plate. Second, when we talk about protein, again, protein is very, very important, be it for your muscle recovery post exercise, or be it for your hair, be it for your skin tissues. So when I talk about protein, if you are a vegetarian, obviously milk and milk products are good sources of protein. So your milk, your curd, your buttermilk, your paneer, these are all good sources of protein. uh, if you are a non-vegetarian, obviously eggs is one of the best sources of protein in your diet, and then comes your chicken. Only thing you have to take care is the cooking method, wherein you do not load it with a lot of oil and a lot of unhealthy stuff while making that recipe. So protein. Then when we talk about fats, coming to the fats, again, as I said, there are again two kinds of fats: good fat and the bad fat. The good fat majorly will come from your nuts and seeds, from your ghee, from your uh, cold pressed oils. Try and see that you do not have too much of refined oil or packet food, because all your packet food or would be loaded with a lot of trans fat, which is a kind of fat we don't want in our plate, which is somewhere going to contribute towards bad cholesterol levels also. Now when it comes to vitamins and minerals, obviously it will come from your vegetables. So so if you go to see, our Indian thali is a perfect example of a balanced diet. Somewhere there have been a lot of trends that have come in and gone. Coming to carbs, coming to protein, coming to fat, there has been low carb, low protein, high fat. So these are all trends. But try and pick up something that suits your body best. But a balanced diet, a plate that has everything in it, is one of the best things that you can feed. The reason why I am emphasizing too much on the balanced diet is balanced diet somewhere keeps your energy levels good. It takes care of your food cravings also. अगर आप ये balanced diet में से कभी carbs नहीं खा रहे हो तो obviously by the end of the day you will have lot of sugar craving. बट अगर वही प्लेट पे अगर आपने कार्ब्स खा लिए होते या रोटी खा ली होती या थोड़े चावल खा लिए होते तो ऑटोमेटिकली दैट शुगर क्रेविंग वुड नॉट हैव कम इनटू द पिक्चर. Just because you're not eating enough carbs, sugar cravings are bound to come. Even if you're diabetic, how you eat your carbs, how much quantity are you consuming will matter. But you don't have to zero down on the carbs. The same thing, I've seen a lot of people loading up with a lot of protein. But you have to understand that you cannot just load up your body with too much of protein. Your body is not that efficient enough to process it. So you have to try and see where you are eating your protein, how you are eating, and how you are balancing it. The carb rich food is also rich in protein. It is not like कि carbohydrate है तो उसमें बिल्कुल protein नहीं रहेगा और protein है तो उसमें बिल्कुल carbs नहीं रहेगा. You have to try and combine your meals. Like if you go to see some classic examples like idli sambar है या फिर समथिंग लाइक दाल ढोकली है, दे आर ऑल सीरियल पल्स कॉम्बिनेशन जहाँ पे कार्ब्स भी है प्रोटीन भी है. तो समवेयर व्हेन बोथ ऑफ देम कम टुगेदर दे इंक्रीज द बायोअवेबिलिटी ऑफ द प्रोटीन दैट यू आर कंज्यूमिंग. सो कार्ब्स के अंदर भी जो प्रोटीन है उसका बायोअवेबिलिटी तब बढ़ेगा जब उसके साथ आप प्रोटीन रिच फूड खा रहे हो. सो सिंपल दाल चावल है, इडली सांभर है, दाल ढोकली है, दे आर ऑल गुड एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ सीरियल पल्स and carbs and protein combination. So try and see that your meals are complete or balanced and not lacking one single macronutrient or micronutrient. And this is how you will be able to meet up your bodily requirements also day to day.
Right. So, why do we need carbs if body can produce any amount of glucose it needs? And even our vegetables and those who consume meat already contains enough carbs, as you already talked about.
Right.
And
Uh,
what could be the potential reason of India being a diabetes capital of the world? If we say that homemade food is good, even then
right.
we have the largest number of diabetes patients.
Okay. Uh, so coming to your first question, wherein you said that if we are eating good protein and fat, then why do we require carbs? Carbs are like an instant source of energy. So supposedly कोई एक्सरसाइज करता है ना तो हम उनको एक्सरसाइज के पहले कहते हैं कि हैव गुड कार्ब्स. क्यों? क्योंकि जब आप एक्सरसाइज करोगे तब आपको जो एनर्जी चाहिए रहेगी वो आपके कार्ब्स से आएगी. प्रोटीन एंड फैट टेक्स अ लिटिल लॉन्गर टू बी ब्रोकन डाउन इन आवर बॉडी. वो इमीडिएट सोर्स नहीं होते हैं. First source of energy for our body is always carbs, and that is the reason I recommended that have a carb and a protein combination and not just प्रोटीन और नॉट जस्ट फैट. द रीजन बीन जो इमीडिएट एनर्जी चाहिए वो कार्ब से आएगा. जब शुगर लेवल्स ड्रॉप होता है या फिर जब एनर्जी लेवल्स ड्रॉप होता है सो यू विल व्हेन इफ यू ईट समथिंग लाइक if you eat a fruit your energy levels would be boosted a little faster compared to when you have a bowl of paneer. The reason being जब आप फ्रूट खाते हो तो there is an instant availability of sugar or instant availability of carbs that is coming into your body and which is somewhere trying to tell you no, you have got the fuel, you have got the glucose that is required and you can be calm now. Now when I feed the same body with a bowl of paneer where it requires glucose, paneer will take a longer time to be broken down in the body. It is not easily available. The first source is obviously carbs and that's the reason you need to eat carbs. The second question that you asked, I'm sorry, I forgot what you asked.
Yeah, basically, India being the diabetes capital, right?
Right. So now when we talk about diabetes also, we see a lot of I see a lot of pre-diabetics maybe in the age group of 25 to 32. And the reason is obviously post pandemics, we are seeing a lot of cases of pre-diabetes. And that again is something to do with our sedentary lifestyle, lack of movement. Work from home is something that most of us are still continuing with. So we are not moving out of those four walls. and the stress levels have gone up. Stress again is a major contributing factor. Third, I would say the sleep pattern. Most of us, like, are into a schedule wherein we are working all throughout the day. We come home, we have our meals, and then we are either sitting and watching something on Netflix, or binge watching something, but we are not going for any kind of exercise. We don't have time for exercise there. Second is obviously the easy availability of convenience food, or easy availability of food, wherein you have these apps on your phone wherein you can conveniently order food for yourself. So किचन में कितना भी अच्छा स्टॉक हो, बट उसे बनाना तो पड़ेगा ना, मतलब it can't be. And most of the time, if you, how much ever I see in my patients and whatever dietary recalls I see, most of the young people would tell me, that we eat out 3 times a week or 4 times a week because we don't have enough time to cook. So that is another contributing factors towards bad health. Now, when we are ordering something from a restaurant, what is going to happen is, restaurant food is obviously, uh, there is a lot of quantity cooking that is done. So obviously the amount of oil, the amount of spices, the amount of um, uh, food that goes into making the gravies and the purees rich would be very high compared to when you prepare a meal which is for 2 people or 3 people. So that is all. That is again one strong contributing factor. Second is exercise. Exercise, now there are people who would be like, oh, I go for 30 minutes walk. That's it. 30 minutes of walk. And throughout the day, that person is just sitting in front of the screen and working. Now that is not going to help in, you know, uh, reversing, or that is not going to help in avoiding the lifestyle problems. So what we have to take care is that obviously the meals have to be home cooked. Second is there has to be good amount of exercise in day to day life. It can be 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and try and pick up activity or exercise that you enjoy. Don't force yourself to go to gym if you don't enjoy that activity. It can be something like playing badminton, playing lawn tennis, going for a swim, whatever you like, because the moment you put yourself into an activity that you enjoy, you are going to be more consistent towards it. But the moment you're going to force yourself कि नहीं अभी तो 6 बजे उठ के मुझे जिम जाना ही है, मैंने मेंबरशिप ली हुई है, no, it is not going to work because you don't enjoy that activity. You are not having fun with it. When you enjoy a physical activity, there is a release of good hormones also, that hormones into your body, which is like the happy hormones, which again somewhere helps a lot or boosts the metabolism in a good way. So that will be important. And third is, we have learned to compromise on our sleep, which is again not a good thing. Like, हम लेट नाइट तक नेटफ्लिक्स देख के 3 घंटा सो के we can be happy. No, that is not the right thing to do. You have to try and get 6 to 7 hours of good quality sleep, and try and sleep by 10 p.m. I know this sounds very orthodox or old school, but it is very important. If you're not sleeping at 10, between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. midnight, you are losing out on good health. Our body recovers, heals, throws off toxins only if we are sleeping at that time. If you're not sleeping, or if you're compromising on our sleep between 10 to 2 a.m., obviously we are going to invite a lot of lifestyle problems, be it obesity, be it diabetes, be it high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So try and see that you sleep early, maybe by 10 p.m. or maximum by 11. And whatever activities that you want to do, start your day early. You will see a major difference in your health, even if you start with this one small step.
Right. And I would like you to talk about the role of fibers, and eye health is something which is very essential in the sense like gadgets, computers, and everywhere screen. We are like too much consumed in that. So eyes, there is a
Right.
continuous strain on eyes, right? So what could be potentially a good diet so as to take care of our eyes?
Okay, so when we talk about good food for eye health, it is anything that is red and orange in color. Any natural thing, like your carrots. Carrots are one of the good source of vitamin A, beta carotene, which is again very good for eyes. The red or the yellow pumpkin that we get in the market, again a very good source of vitamin A and beta carotene, good for the eyes. Oranges, sweet lime, these are all very good sources of vitamin A or beta carotene, which is something which is very important for eye health. The second thing is, when we talk about screen time, obviously our screen time has uh, something which is we have to work upon, and that is something unavoidable also. So the simple trick that you can do is, as I said, when it comes to bodily movement, also get up every 30 minutes, go for a stroll and come back. Same thing, it gives you a screen break also at that time. So there is something called as 2020 rule when it comes to eye health, which most of the ophthalmologists recommend, which is like 20 minutes away. I mean, you have to keep your distance from your screen. One, every 20 minutes, take a 20 seconds break from your screen. So automatically get you get that rest. You give that rest to the eyes, which is very important. And third, obviously, as I say, the sleep. Sleep is again very going to be very important when it comes to eye health. So, and when it comes to sleep, most of the young people, or most of the people nowadays complain about bad sleep or not getting enough sleep. कि हम कोशिश तो करते हैं 10 बजे सोने की, but 10 बजे सोने के बाद भी नींद नहीं आती है. The reason is, till the last moment we are with our phone or we are with some kind of screen, so that blue light is somewhere going to try and you know tell our brain that we are still active and we are not ready to sleep. There is something called as there is a hormone called as melatonin that has to be released for good sleep. So if we are in front of the screen before we go off to bed, obviously the release of melatonin is not going to happen at its peak, and automatically our sleep quality is going to get compromised. So other thing that you have to try and see is that you try and avoid screen 20 to 30 minutes prior to your bedtime. Somewhere that also helps in good quality sleep, good eye rest also. So I usually recommend the post dinner activity can be something wherein you're just sitting and chit chatting with your family, or going out for a simple relaxed walk with your family, or just sitting and reading something and not avoiding all kind of screens.
Right. So some few pointers you already explained. Metabolism is one thing which is very important. So let's talk about metabolic syndrome and what ways we can improve upon our metabolism, which is very essential for a good health for everyone.
When we talk about metabolic health, or the metabolic disorders that we are talking about, like diabetes hai, ya high cholesterol hai, ya uh, thyroid issues hai. These are all metabolic disorders that we see a lot, and specifically now we are seeing in young kids also. It's not only restricted to adults now. And the reason, as I said, it will be repetitive, to be very frank, is the lifestyle pattern that we are into. And the metabolic disorders, we see a lot of metabolic disorder in kids. So the first thing that I would suggest is, if there are any parents who are listening to me, is that you are like a role model for your children. So try and see that if you want your child to avoid screen, the first thing that you have to do is you have to start avoiding screen at a particular period of time, and automatically your child will pick up or adapt to that habit. It's that easy. So because obviously there is a lot of online schooling that has started, or there is a lot of project works that that involves screens, and after that the playtime has also now come down to screen. So try and see that the kids are going for a physical activity or going for a game of 2 hours or 60 minutes in a day, where they are not playing video games or playing something on their phone, or any kind of screen. So those things would be important. And when we talk about metabolic disorders in young adults, obviously, again, it's repetitive. You have to try and work on the lifestyle, and the same things that I have told previously.
So there is one question around: is it true that the nutritional quality of fruits and veggies has reduced over the years due to bad farming practices and reduced soil quality? Also, how true is the myth of antibiotics or hormones being used to dairy and egg industries?
Yes. So yes, I would agree to the fact that the lot of things, even the whole foods that we are getting in the market right now, are like adulterated or manipulated in certain way. So obviously it's not in a pure form. Or but there are certain brands or there are certain people again who are working at the core level and who are trying to provide the authentic things also. So I think we just have to work and trace out the good, the sources in the market. That's it. Not all brands are like that. There are few brands which are again, uh, giving us good and pure forms also. But when it comes to dairy, obviously we you have to try and work out on the local options or local, I would say, local dairy where they source it from. And if the cows or the buffaloes are not injected with hormones, I think that is how you have to try and source things for yourself. Because currently the milk, the packet milk that we get in the market again is obviously injected with a lot of additives, or I would say the way, a lot of hormones, and they are adulterated for sure. And that is why we see a rise in hormonal issues in young girls also right now. The reason is the dairy. We had never heard about lactose intolerance or, gluten sensitivity 10 years back or 15 years back. The reason being, the quality of food that we were getting was far, far better than what we are getting now. And that is one of the reasons of rise in lactose intolerance or gluten sensitivity cases right now in young kids or young adults.
Right. So let's talk a little about fibers, right? So how we can include those in our diets, and what should be ideally a good way to consume those.
Okay, so when we talk about fiber, or when we, when we talk about including fiber in our diet, one simple thing that you have to target is include good amount of vegetables in your diet. Now, when we talk about including vegetables and fruits are one of the best sources of fiber in our diet. Now, when we talk about including vegetables in the diet, it can be in the form of, obviously, if you're having lunch or dinner, it can be in the form of sabzi, or if you're having it in the breakfast, it can be chopped or pureed and added to the recipe. For a normal Indian adult, the recommended amount of fiber that needs to be consumed is like 25 to 30 grams in a day. And usually, if you are someone who is a picky eater or someone who is not a vegetable person or a fruit person, then that is where the fiber intake will get compromised. So you have to try and target an increase in your fiber gradually, and not like, ki till now you were not eating fiber and suddenly from tomorrow you go on to 30 to 50 grams of fiber in a day. No, you will land up with a very bad constipation or diarrhea if you do that to your body. So it has to be a progressive kind of a diet. But every recipe that you include or every meal that you have, try and include good amount of vegetables in that, recipe. So automatically what you're doing is you're taking care of your fiber intake, you're taking care of vitamin and mineral intake also, because there would be different colors going into that plate. So supposedly you are preparing something like a poha or an upma. What we do is we restrict our poha or upma to just potato and onions. No, you should try and make it more colorful by adding like onion, tomato, green peas, carrot, capsicum, whatever seasonal vegetables that are available in and around. So you are what you're trying to do is you're trying to add fiber to the recipe. Once you add fiber to the recipe, what will happen is the portion that you consume of that particular recipe would be minimal. You will not be able to overdo, because the moment fiber comes into the picture, you require to chew a lot. The moment you chew a lot, automatically it sends a signal to your brain that you have eaten a lot, so now you should stop. So fiber comes majorly from your vegetables and fruits. So try and see to it that all your meals have good amount of vegetables. Practically, you should have 3 to 4 varieties of vegetable in a day, and do not repeat the type of vegetable, preferably.
Right. So there is a new trend which is going on. People are talking about vegan, right? And like people are looking for alternatives of milk products. So do you see any substitute if we talk about milk and milk products? And on the top of that, consumption of sugar is one thing which is like very prevalent in our country. So how we can cut down on the sugar thing?
Okay. Uh, Coming to your first question, Prince, I couldn't hear you clearly there.
So basically, talking about substitute of milk and milk products, right? People
Okay.
are,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about milk and milk products, majorly what we think is, milk and milk products are our major source of calcium in our diet, or a major source of protein in our diet. और अगर वो नहीं खाया तो you know protein या calcium कहाँ से मिलेगा kind of. But we have better sources of calcium in our diet when it comes to normal food also. Like if you are someone, when it comes to grains, like rajgire ka atta, it is called amaranth flour. It's one of the good sources of calcium in our diet. Every one of us would have heard about rajgira laddu, right? So rajgira laddu nahi, the same rajgira का आटा भी मिलता है मार्केट में, which is called amaranth flour, and which is one of the good source of calcium when it comes to grains. Try and include that, or maybe try and include something like sesame seeds, which is your til, black till या white till. They're again one of the amazing source of calcium in our diet. And the seeds, the nuts and seeds, pumpkin seeds hai, sunflower seeds hai, they are all good source of healthy fat and um calcium in the diet. What you have to do is you have to try and consume those if you're not opting for dairy, or if you don't want to choose dairy because it's way too processed or way too adulterated. So preferably, what I would suggest when it comes to substitute for dairy, it's not necessary that you have to have dairy to meet up your nutritional requirements. But obviously, when it comes to something like, if you are a proper vegan, then there would be certain amount of supplementations that would be important to meet up the requirement. Or if you're having the natural sources, then you have to try and see that you are having it in a good amount on a regular basis and you're not compromising.
So
And
yeah,
hmm,
yeah,
no,
please
no.
go on. Go.
So when the calcium sources that I was talking about was like the drumstick leaves that we get, or the drumsticks, or moringa powder, drumstick leaf ka powder bhi milta hai. That again is a very good source of calcium. Or when we talk about the cauliflower leaves or the cauliflower greens, जो usually sabzi wala फेंक देता है, they are again a very good source of calcium and iron in the diet. So there are many natural and there are many basic sources of calcium and iron in the diet, and it's not necessary that for calcium you need to have dairy or you need to have milk per se.
Right. So let me draw a parallel. The need of a
Hmm.
good financial advisor is equally important. Likewise, a role of dietitian and good advisor on health front. So those who can
Yes.
afford can surely look for it. And obviously, like
Hmm.
even if you are not willing to, then also like you need to be very disciplined in your deciding on how to maintain your health. So
Yes.
we after one question I'll come to
Hmm.
Aditya. So Shreya, one question that comes to
Hmm.
my mind is, which is very
Hmm.
important. So
Hmm.
the vitamins and minerals, if they are not easily available
Hmm.
through the
Hmm.
normal regular diet which we take, so
Hmm.
would it be wise to take supplements, or what would be your suggestion on that?
Okay. So when we talk about supplement is, so even if we supposedly if there is a person who is like who has a calcium deficiency or who is deficient in a particular nutrient, you have to take the supplement obviously to meet up the requirement or to meet up the immediate requirement of the nutrient if it is practically very low. And along with that you have to parallelly work on your eating pattern also. ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर मेरे अगर मेरा कैल्शियम लेवल कम है तो मैं कैल्शियम सप्लीमेंट ले लूंगा and it is sorted and then I don't have to think about anything. Supplement comes into the picture, or supplements would come into the picture along with the diet. It cannot be like you are having a calcium supplement, but you are not eating calcium rich foods. Because somewhere calcium rich foods would work as a pillar in enhancing the absorption of the supplement that you're consuming for your calcium levels. The other thing is, I see a lot of people just popping in supplements without any without testing themselves whether they are actually deficient or not, or without seeing whether it's a requirement of the body or not. They're just popping in like that. Please don't do that to yourself. Your body is not something that is meant for trial and error. Try and respect your body. Test yourself. If you feel you require a certain supplement, if you are deficient, see whoever is your local physician or a nutritionist, see her And then according to the advice, try the supplement, because supplements, it's not like you start the supplement and then you continue for a 2 months or 3 months and then you stop. There is something called as dose interaction time. So kitna dose jana chahiye, what food you have to include, what food you have to avoid when you are taking a particular supplement. Those all things would play a very very important role there. Like I see a lot of patients who have vitamin D3 deficiency. Now what happens is, vitamin D3 deficiency here, then they are put on a course of like 8 weeks or 12 weeks of a vitamin D supplement. But what next? The next is you have to try and maintain the dose, wherein you try and maintain the dose maybe according to your body. For some people, they have to do a maintenance dose of once in a month after the 8 week or 12 week. For some people, it can be once in 15 days, depending upon how deficient they are. But that is what would be important. Do not just try and self prescribe, or do not just try and take a supplement just because your friend is consuming. No, your friend's body is very different from what your body is, and you have to try and understand that factor. And supplement will come into picture only when you are not eating enough or when you are deficient. Supplementation comes into the picture only when there is a deficiency, and not just randomly. To maintain good health, you don't need so much of supplementation, except obviously vitamin D3 and B12, which are two important vitamins which which you should try and trace yourself, and if required, supplement it as and when required.
Right. So, Aditya, you can ask your question now.
Hey, Prince, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So, Prince, thank you. A long time no see. Thank you for hosting the space, and Shreya, thank you for your brilliant insights. I had just three questions. The first question was there's a lot of misconception around breakfast. So, is breakfast the most important meal of the day, or if you can help us understand that? That's the
Hmm.
first thing. The second thing is sugar. So we just missed that. So I just wanted to
Hmm.
understand what is the optimal amount of intake that you can do on sugar, and how can you control your sugar cravings. I know you've written a lot of threads on that, but you can help us understand. That would be great. And the third one is आजकल मार्केट में बहुत आटा नूडल्स आटा मैगी and all those stuff which is sold as to be healthy rather than the refined flour maggi and breads. So how
Right,
healthy are those, and is it advisable to have those ready to eat? Thanks.
right. uh, so coming to your first question, uh, breakfast, is it important or is it not so important? We all are into like a very busy lifestyle, wherein we start our day, rush to work, and then maybe our lunch is around 2 3, so there's a long fasting phase. So obviously if you're following something like intermittent fasting, then obviously your eating or your menu plan is very very different from normal people. One. Second, if you're into a normal lifestyle and a busy schedule, then having a good protein rich breakfast would be very very important to kickstart your day, because somewhere it just boosts your metabolism. It gives you the energy that sustains you for another 5 6 hours and work. There's no brain fog, there's no fatigue, there's no lethargy. So according to me, breakfast is one of the most important meal of the day. If you are eating it right, and if you are loading it with good amount of protein along with some carbs, then it's one of the amazing thing to start your day with. There are certain people who don't feel like eating breakfast, or who don't feel like eating anything after they wake up for first few hours. That's because they have been into that kind of a lifestyle, so that's okay. So you have to try and understand your body's need. But I would say it's one of the best meal of the day, and you should not compromise on your breakfast, be whatever it may be. And plus, whatever you have, sometimes if you have to have something that's not healthy for you, or that's something very processed, I usually tell people to have it in the first half of the day, so that your body has enough time to process it. You cannot have uh, and that's because your metabolism is at its peak during the start of the day. So I think breakfast is one of the most important meal of the day, until and unless obviously you are into a restrictive eating pattern, or you are not into you are following something like an intermittent fasting. Coming to the second question, how to take care of the sugar cravings. For sugar cravings, you have to understand the first question is why do you have sugar cravings? And the reason for sugar cravings is if you're not eating enough food or if you're not eating enough carbs, obviously you're bound to have sugar cravings. Second, if you're not eating enough protein in your diet or if your meals are not balanced enough, sugar cravings are very normal. If you have very, very long gaps between your meal time, obviously what happens is if you're having your breakfast at 8 a.m. and then you starve yourself till 5 p.m., obviously at 5 p.m. your sugar levels will drop so much that your body is hungry, but it will come up in the form of sugar craving, wherein it will tell you that no, I need to eat something that is coated with a lot of sugar. But it's your body's way of telling that the sugar is dropping down and now I need to eat something. So try and see that you're eating at regular intervals of time so that you that sugar craving doesn't come into the picture. And obviously, if you're not eating enough fruits, also sometimes because your fruits is a source of natural sugar, so try and see that you have at least one fruit in the first half of the day so that you don't land up with sugar cravings by 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Your peak time of hunger is usually 4 to 6 p.m. So this is how you take care of the sugar craving. Third, you spoke about the atta noodles or the brown bread or anything that we get brown in the market right now is like healthy. People think that if it is brown, it is healthy. No, it's not like that. The atta noodles that we get also has somewhere around 50% of refined flour. And what I understand is anything that cooks in 2 minutes or 3 minutes, imagine how much it is going to be processed in a plant or a food industry so that it is just cooked in 2 minutes and given to us. So you have to try and understand that brown bread also has 50% maida to it, 50% refined flour. So मैदा है and कोई भी बेकरी प्रोडक्ट या कोई भी ब्रेड प्रोडक्ट अच्छा नहीं बनेगा जब तक उसके अंदर अच्छे अमाउंट में मैदा नहीं जाएगा, डालडा नहीं जाएगा, सॉल्ट नहीं जाएगा, शुगर नहीं जाएगा. So those things when it comes to uh, when you want to eat something that is processed, something that is junk, eat the way it is. Do not try to tell your mind that no, this is brown, so this is healthy, so I can eat a little more. No. अगर आपको आटा नूडल्स पसंद है तो यही समझ के खाओ कि इट इज एन इक्विवेलेंट टू योर मैगी दैट यू आर ईटिंग. अगर आपको ब्राउन ब्रेड पसंद है और आप खा रहे हो दैट्स अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी. और एल्स यू कैन स्टिक टू योर व्हाइट ब्रेड एंड टेल योरसेल्फ दैट यू आर ईटिंग अनहेल्दी. You don't have to manipulate your mind because in we don't get something that is obviously until and unless you have some home baker who genuinely prepares it and gives it, that's a different story. But in market we don't get anything that is genuine. So I would say anything that comes from a packet is obviously processed and you have to give that reality check to yourself.
So, a few questions, Shreya. So, basically, is uh, and the diet component or the food which one should consume has any relation to the blood group of the person?
See, that's what I told at the start, that there are obviously lot of diet trends. Now, there is the way you said there's something called as blood group diets also, wherein the food is recommended according to your blood group. Uh, I would not say I would just say that if you want to customize something for yourself, you don't have to see the blood group and customize it. You have to see how your lifestyle is, how your eating pattern is, what fits into your lifestyle, which will not be an added stress, and follow that kind of an eating pattern and not something according to the blood group.
Right. And also, like, the house is divided on whether one should consume fruit empty stomach. So, I mean, what's the perception which goes behind this, and what would be your reply to this?
So the reason why I usually say that start your day with a fruit is after a long fasting phase, our body is craving for good amount of sugar or good amount of glucose or good amount of carbs. And the best natural form of glucose or carbs that you can give your body is in the form of a fruit. And that is the reason you can start with a fruit, and which is something which is very light on the stomach also. It's not very heavy for the stomach to accept or process also.
Right. So, for our attendees also, if you have any questions, so you can simply type in the comments, or you can send me a speaker request. And another question is from okay, so please give some
Hmm.
health tips for those who are working in night shifts.
Okay. Uh, this is one of the very good question, and I see a lot of people who are into shifts pattern or maybe night shift. What you have to do, one important thing is that even if you're working at night, you don't have to compromise on your sleep. That is one important thing you have to take care of. So your routine just reverses. That's it. But the other things remain as it is. So for you, your day would start by 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. depending upon what your work shift timings are. And accordingly, maybe your dinner can be something similar to the breakfast that you have, and your mid meals can be during your office hours. Do not starve yourself just because you are working in a night shift and वहाँ पे कोई canteen या कोई food joint available नहीं है. Try and carry few things like nuts hai, fruits hai, so that you are taking care of your mid meals. And once you're done with that, maybe early morning, once you're done with your shift, you can come and have something similar to way you have your dinner, which will be the light meal of the day. So something like as simple as khichdi or curd rice or dal chawal, which is very simple, easy to go. So once you come back, maybe after an hour or so, or maybe after half an hour, you can go off to bed. Now, when you go off to bed, see to it that if you are if you have a separate room or something, great. Try and see that you lock yourself and complete your sleep cycle, because I see a lot of people compromising on their sleep cycle if they are into night shift. वो लोग रात को काम करेंगे and during the daytime they will be finishing up with the family household chores, or maybe if they have some other commitments. Don't do that to yourself, because your sleep will be important. So you just reverse the cycle. Second is, try and stick to this pattern even on the weekends. Don't change the cycle, so that your body clock is set and there's no, changes in your body clock. So even on the weekend, see to it you are into a similar pattern. Only thing is, maybe you can, start your day a little early on the weekends by 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the evening rather than 9 p.m. So the routine remains the same. You just have to reverse it. But do not compromise on the sleep.
Right. So Aditya, you raised your hand. You can go. Yeah.
Yes. So one of the last question that I wanted to ask is, ऐसा बोला जाता है कि वेजिटेरियन डाइट में प्रोटीन्स कम होते हैं. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to understand what are the sources of protein for the vegetarian people, and दाल में प्रोटीन होता है कि नहीं होता है, ये भी मुझे एक डाउट था. So I wanted that opinion also. Thanks.
Coming to the good sources of vegetarian protein, so if you consume milk and milk products, obviously paneer है, dahi है, या फिर this your pulses are not 100% good source of protein. They have a little protein and carbs combination. So when you have your pulses along with something that is rich in carbs, like अगर आप दाल के साथ चावल खा रहे हो या इडली के साथ सांभर खा रहे हो, तो automatically the bioavailability of the protein and the pulses improvises and it is better. So obviously, if you're a vegetarian, then you need to have a cereal pulse combination rather than having cereal as it is or pulses as it is. So do not have something as plain as dal soup. Have your dal soup along, matlab, have your dal along with rice. If you're having idli, have it. Do not restrict yourself to just idli chutney, but have it like idli sambar combination. If you can't have idli sambar, something like dahi idli is also a good combination. But that cereal pulse combination would obviously be very important to increase the bioavailability of the protein. The nuts and seeds are also a good source of protein in the diet for the vegetarians. So that would be again another thing that you can add. Soya bean, I would say, the normal soya bean is also a good source of protein in the diet. If you are not a thyroid patient, then obviously you can have soya. I would not say soya chunks, because soya chunks again are way too processed, so the protein value is not that great.
Can tofu can
Hmm.
also substitute for
Yes,
calcium and
yes,
protein?
yes,
And
yes. Tofu.
can you talk about the advantages and effect of photoestrogens with the tofu as a staple in our food?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
So the question is, can you talk about advantages and effect of phytoestrogens with tofu as a staple food in our, as a staple in our food?
Tofu obviously contains tofu. Obviously, the major source is soy, and soy is very rich in isoflavones, a type of plant estrogen, the phytoestrogen, which is very similar to human estrogen. So, soy isoflavones can bind to estrogen receptors in the body, and they can cause, a weak estrogenic or anti-estrogenic activity, and sometimes. Um, if someone has high estrogen levels, then we try and say that you need to reduce on the consumption of the soy products.
So one question is from a parent, Mr. Nandi is asking, in morning before going to school at 6:30 a.m. His
Mhm.
child is not interested to take any food. Please give some food suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, so one simple thing that usually I recommend to my kids who are my patient is something like a milkshake or something like a fruit smoothie, which is like easy to go, easy to drink, and they can just finish it in like 5 minutes and they are done. So smoothie or milkshake in a way, which is like it has milk, one sweet fruit can be something like a banana or a chiku or a sitafal. Abhi mango ka season hai to mango. You can add little of maybe roasted oats powder to it, and maybe half a teaspoon or maybe 1/4 teaspoon of overnight soaked chia seeds to that same smoothie. Put it in a good glass and with a straw or maybe just like that. Make it a little appealing. For kids, the food has to look appealing so that they have it. If it is not appealing, if it is not served nicely, and if it is not good looking, obviously kids are not going to have it. So put it in their favorite glass or some nice glass and give it to them. So it is like if you go to see, we have tried and covered everything. Fruit is a good source of carbs and sugars. Milk is a good source of protein that you put in the diet. Chia seeds would be a good source of healthy fat. Roasted oats would be a source of good fiber. So it's an all-in-one package that you give to the child before he or she goes to school. And that will sustain that kind of milkshake or a smoothie will sustain him or her for another 3-4 hours till there is a break, maybe around 10:30, 11. To start with, if there is an aversion to milk or if the child doesn't like drinking milk in the morning or is not a fan of milkshake, then you can just start with one simple fruit also, it's okay. Any fruit that he or she likes, that is also fine. Or if not that, start with simple dry fruits and then gradually you can upgrade yourself. So directly, obviously, you cannot load him or her with anything because they are not into a habit of eating something at 6:30. So you have to try and develop the habit. So start with giving maybe as simple as half a fruit or 1/4 of a fruit with little nuts, and then gradually you can shift towards a milkshake or a smoothie or something like that.
So, do you think the chocos and kind of like what we say oats can be a regular meal with milk, or you have a differentiated view on this?
I would say oats is still okay. Oats is fine, but when it comes to something like Chocos or something like Kellogg's and all the ready-made cereals that we get in the market, it will be a complete no-no. Then उससे better है आप घर पे simple दलिया बना के खाओ, which is a better thing to do. Because all your cereals are again way too processed in the way too processed in the industry and given to us. So somewhere that is a contributing factors towards weight gain and all the lifestyle problems.
Right. So, Brajesh, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, Prince, first of
Hmm.
all, thank you so much for bringing such a great space and bringing Shreya Madam to solve our all health related queries. It's really wonderful to join this space. Mm, a lot of queries has been already been solved, got resolved by Aditya and Prince. You asked so many questions and got answered. But since I'm also a diabetic since last 16, 17 years, and I'm doing some workout and somehow I am managing my sugar levels. The sugar
Hmm.
मेरा ऐसा टोटली एकदम नॉर्मल लेवल पे तो नहीं है लेकिन फिर भी somehow मैं इसको मैनेज करके एक प्रॉपर लेवल पे रखने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ और कुछ ना कुछ मेरी
Great.
फिजिकल एक्टिविटी के थ्रू मैं करता हूँ साइकिलिंग रनिंग या जो जैसा अभी श्रेया मैडम ने बोला जैसे मैं जिम पसंद नहीं करता हूँ, तो मेरे को जो अदर एक्टिविटीज है जो इंजॉयबल है वो मैं करता हूँ, और उसके थ्रू मेरे को मेंटल स्ट्रेस भी रिड्यूस होती है और काफी कुछ चीजें ठीक है। फिर को काफी कुछ चीजें जो हम लोगों के मेंटर्स हैं जो रनिंग के और साइकिलिंग के, उन लोगों से बहुत सारा इंफॉर्मेशन मिलता है, और कुछ कुछ हम लोग फॉलो कर पाते हैं। काफी कुछ वही होता है कि जो आप लोगों को सलाह देते हैं खुद नहीं अप्लाई कर पाते। सो दैट इज माई फॉल्ट, दैट आई नो। और मैं ट्राई कर रहा हूँ उसको मैनेज करने के लिए। श्रेया मैडम से क्वेश्चन ये था कि जो
हम्म।
एक फूड के लिए बोलते हैं कि जैसे आपको मिक्सिंग नहीं करना चाहिए, इज इट ओके? जैसे चपाती सुबह खाने के साथ आपने एक या दो चपाती खाई, अब उसके साथ में दाल चावल अगर आप लेते हैं तो इज इट ओके, या ये गलत है एज ए डायबिटिक पेशेंट के लिए या जनरल पेशेंट के लिए?
मुझे आपका क्वेश्चन बहुत क्लियरली नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है, आप रिपीट कर
हाँ।
सकते हो क्वेश्चन प्लीज?
हाँ, वॉइस क्लियर है मेरा?
हाँ, अभी बेटर है।
मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा था, जैसे लंच में मैंने चपाती ली, उसके साथ में दाल चावल ऐड करना चाहिए, या एक टाइम पे बोलते हैं एक ही अनाज खाना चाहिए?
राइट, राइट। ओके, ओके। अंडरस्टूड, अंडरस्टूड। बेसिकली फॉर डायबिटिक्स हम ऐसे बोलते हैं कि लो कार्ब डाइट इज समथिंग विच इज गुड फॉर मैनेजिंग योर ब्लड शुगर्स. So your diet or your plate has to be high on protein and a little less on carbs. तो टू बी वेरी फ्रैंक, अगर यू आर अ पर्सन जिसको रोटी और दाल चावल दोनों खाना है आपके प्लेट में, तो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज ट्राई एंड सी दैट योर 50% प्लेट इज लोडेड विद वेजिटेबल्स, maybe two vegetables or one vegetable in a very good portion. You can have a vegetable salad and a good portion of dal, along with which what you can do is you can have roti and rice both. आप क्या कर सकते हो, जस्ट फॉर अ मेंटल सेटिस्फैक्शन आप आपका रोटी का साइज थोड़ा छोटा कर सकते हो, सो इट कैन बी अ स्मॉलर फुल कार्ब कंपेयर टू व्हाट यू आर हैविंग. So automatically you are taking care of your carb consumption, and somewhere you are not compromising on any food ingredient. So a small portion of rice, a small portion of roti, if you are having enough of vegetable dal and dahi along with it. If you can't have so much of things together, what you can do is you can break your meals into two, wherein you can have your salad sabzi, or you can have your salad sabzi dal roti for time being, and after maybe an hour or so you can have a portion of curd rice or dal rice again. You can divide your meals into two rather than loading up all together.
राजीव जी, आप अनम्यूट करके अपना सवाल रख सकते हैं.
Namaskar, Prince, Shreya ji, and other friends. I think it was really a very, very useful and enlightening session from Shreya ji. And most of the questions we can think were, put to you by Prince. And I will say that this session comes as a return gift to all your admirers who were wishing you a happy birthday. So this is a return gift. What a wonderful and educative session. Now, Shreya ji, my problem could be very common but very typical also. I am 66 years old and I retired as a journalist who was working at night most of the time. And for the last 3 years, I am retired, and I had this dream that I will become a 5 o'clock person. 5 a.m. club I will join, but that has never happened because I am so addicted and I enjoy the peace at night. So I have no problem with sleep, because when I am so tired after, uh, uh, doing research or watching many things, that I, get a very good sleep. But only thing is I get up very late, and daytime also when I feel sleepy, being a retired person, I can sleep. So now, do I treat myself as a person who is working at night? How would you help me tackle this addictiveness to waking up at night?
Okay, this is actually a very nice question, and what I would recommend you, to be very frank, is, as I said at the start also, start very small. I understand that you have a goal of being a 5 a.m. person or into a 5 a.m. club, but that cannot happen drastically because all your life you have been into night shift. So, what you have to do is you have to try and target getting up maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or maybe 1 hour early every week or every 10 days. And same thing at night, you have to try and target sleeping 1 hour early or maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes early. So when you start doing this in a small way, your body would accept that change positively, and that will be a better thing to do. I would not, if you are not into a working pattern that requires you to work at night right now, because since you're retired, I would suggest try and gradually upgrade yourself, wherein you sleep at night and you are active during the day, but that has to come very gradually. It cannot come very drastically, because if it comes drastically it will be like a shock treatment to the body and your body will not accept that. So do it by changing it every 10 days by upgrading yourself to 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever your body is comfortable with.
Thank you, Shreyaji. I have small one additional question is that this processed food was discussed by you. Now I find that this Kellogg meal people take in the morning, but I feel that at night it's very convenient for me to have this granola kind of a meal with hot milk along with some fruit. So would you approve of this granola and Kellogg meal at night taken regularly? You said it is processed food and should be avoided. Kindly educate on this.
So I would not say a yes to Kellogg's or a granola bar as your meal every day. Okay, when you're traveling, when hygiene is an issue, food availability an issue, it can come as a good backup. But on a regular basis, I think if you want something which is very simplified and which is very easy to cook, and if you're someone who likes something along with milk at night, you can go for something as simple as a ragi porridge or a dalia with doodh and something like that, which is more healthier, which is more, which is close to nature and less processed, and which is more wholesome, and somewhere it will give you some kind of healthy health and nutrients rather than your Kellogg's and granola bar, which is loaded with so much of sugar. If you go and see the nutritional label of those things, it is loaded with lot of sugar. Even if the source of sugar is something as simple as jaggery, it is not healthy to consume that much of sugar, and that too at night. Obviously no. So I think you can look for healthier substitute like ragi porridge hai, milk and dalia hai, या फिर something as simple as khichdi hai, something as simple as curd rice hai. They're very simple, easy to cook, convenient, and plus the chances of manipulation are a little less, and obviously the sugar is zero. So you have a control over those factors there.
Thank you, Prince, for giving me this opportunity to interact, and thank you, uh, Shreya ji, for your wonderful guidance.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. You have always been so kind and praising me. Thank you so much. And Shreya, there is one person in our circle. His name is Shami Mohammed, right? So he was the one who was talking about a space on health, and I had your name in my mind previously. So that's very same day I connected, and this session was planned. So I
Yes.
was trying adding Shami. I don't know, some issue on his end, but anyway, we continue with the questions. And for our attendees, please, such kind of good information is rarely shared by people. You can appreciate that by connecting with Shreya over her Twitter handle, and surely you will be benefited from the threads and the good knowledge shared on his handle. So please feel free to do that. And if you have any questions after this session also, then also you can write them, and surely we'll try to take those questions. So Nirav Patel, you can, Aditya, I'll come to you. We have two speakers. Let me do with them, and then I come to you. Nirav, you can quickly unmute and ask your question.
Sure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to have interactions with Shreya ji. Shreya ji, I have three questions. I am currently a food 40 years or age, and I recently 2 years back got diagnosed with the pre-diabetics. So my fasting blood sugar is always stays somewhere like 115 or 120, and my H1AB is like something 5.6. So doctor says you need to watch your sugar input. So since last 2 years, I completely stopped my sugar. If I need, I use a Splenda, which is a zero calorie sweetener. So I have my questions now. First questions: should I consume the milk daily or not? Because I heard the milk has the sugar, so I completely stopped since last 2 years. So that is my question number one: shall I drink milk or not? There's another question number two is uh, uh, I know so pre-diabetic, since I have 5.6 right now, last 6 month average. Is it presumed that I supposed to be go by diabetic gradually after maybe 8 years, 10 years down the line, or I can still prevent, or I can stay convert or reverse pre-diabetic to the normal one by some reducing the carbohydrates and all these things? So that is my another question. And should I consume the third question is, can I consume my corns or not? So yeah, that's what I would like to know. I really appreciate your guidance.
Thank you for such wonderful questions, and specifically a topic that is very close to my heart, diabetes. So, well, I would the answer to your first question would be whether you should have milk or not. Again, as we discussed previously, if you are sure about the source of milk and the quality of milk, then obviously you can go ahead and include milk in your diet. But currently, if you're comfortable without milk, like you have not been having milk since 2 years, and if you're very comfortable without milk, then it's okay to be off milk also and try and include the other sources of protein and calcium in your diet. Second, the way you asked that your HbA1c is 5.6 currently and your fasting is somewhere between 115 to 120. I would say if you are consistent with a similar lifestyle for similar lifestyle, then I don't think so you will be a diabetic. What happens is, if someone is diagnosed with pre-diabetes, the person manages it for 3 months or maybe maximum 6 months, and then goes back to the moment the results are okay, the person goes back to the older lifestyle. Well, he starts enjoying everything and starts including sugar, and again, no exercise, no physical activity, and everything. But as I said, if you're consistent with the lifestyle eating pattern wherein you follow a low carb diet and regular exercise, good sleep pattern, and everything, then it's not necessary that you will be a diabetic 100% within 8 years or 10 years. No, depends how consistent are you with your lifestyle and your lifestyle changes. If you're consistent with it, then the scope is very minimal, until and unless obviously there are many other factors also that we need to understand or we need to consider to say confidently that you will not be a diabetic. But to be frank, the major issue is being consistent with the lifestyle. So whatever changes that you have done or whatever lifestyle upgradations that you have done, if you're consistent with it for the longest period of time, then obviously your scope of being a diabetic would be the least.
Thanks. I hope this helped Nirav with his answers. Guys, let me take another moment to tell you guys the session is recorded, and surely this can be listened to after I upload the same session over my YouTube channel, the link to which I'll ping in after some time. And surely, if you have not connected yet, please connect because there is a lot of information which can be helpful for you. So, with this, Aditya, you can quickly ask your question. You had your hand raised, then we go to Kishan and Think Invest. Yeah.
No, no, I just had a point. Since you said that she is spreading a lot of information, I just wanted to tell everybody that last year I had got COVID, and after that I had got long COVID, and I had a lot of dietary problems, and I had consulted Shreya at that time. So she was really helpful, and she explained everything very, very nicely and in detail, so that you know what really happens. So anybody who has got any problems with respect to the diet or any disease, Surely, if you reach out to her, she helps you a lot. So I just wanted to make that point when you were saying.
Thanks. Great, great. That's too nice of her. So, Kishan, you can quickly unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Harsh, to give me opportunity to interact with Shreya. My basically two questions. First one is my cholesterol level is 240 and my H1B2AC 5.3, and I have tight schedule and no time for physical exercise. Ma'am, please guide on this. Suggest some diet plan also, some dietary changes also.
Okay, okay. To be very frank, obviously I need to understand lot many things before I tell you what kind of a diet you need to follow or what all things you know आपका routine कैसा होना चाहिए. But some simple things that helps managing your blood cholesterol levels are like eating good amount of fiber, including good amount of fiber in your diet. I had described or I had obviously detailed me. I had told what are the sources. Try and include good amount of fiber. The moment the amount of fiber that goes into your body, good amount of fiber goes into your body, it helps in flushing off your cholesterol. Second is try and see that you change the type of oil that you are consuming currently. The way I said, shift from refined oil to cold pressed or a homemade ghee. That would be a better option to do. Third, try and reduce on the processed and the junk food and the packet food. And if you're someone who consumes aerated drinks and cold drinks and everything, try and zero down on those things. Fourth, if you are someone who drinks and smokes, please, please, please zero down on that too, because that's somewhere going to be a major contributing a factor towards high cholesterol level. Also, the other thing is, since there is no time for physical activity, somewhere you have to try and take out that time for yourself, for your body, which is more important. And if you can't, then as I said, to try and include small activities into your daily routine, like, moving every 40 minutes, not sitting for long period, doing some chair stretches or, desk stretches, whatever you can at one place, squats hai, ya fir yoga hai. Try and start investing at least 20 minutes in a day for physical activity. Post meal walks hai, lunch ke baad 20 minutes walk, dinner ke baad 20 minutes walk. These simple things are something that you can try and incorporate to start with. And gradually what you can do is, if your work pattern if you have a weekend off, like if you're not working on Saturday Sunday, at least see to it that you exercise maybe for an hour on Saturday and Sunday at least. So at least you're trying to manage 2 days in a week and then gradually upgrade it to 3 or 4 times a week. So even if you're able to do 4 times a week, it's one of the best things that you can do for your body. That would be another thing. And uh, try and keep your doctor in loop. The cholesterol levels, I don't know whether it was triglycerides or the LDL cholesterol. If it requires a temporary medicine, you should start with it. Please check with your vitamin D levels, because anyone who has high cholesterol level are usually found to be deficient in vitamin D levels. So see to it you start check your vitamin D levels, and if you're deficient, you should start with a supplement there too. I hope this is enough. I think you got your answer. And if there is anything, you can get in touch with me and we can customize a meal plan for you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Kishan. So, Shreya, you tell our attendees by your startup or maybe the entrepreneur journey in Healthfuel. So, what
Right.
all like you offerings?
Okay. So just giving a brief introduction about myself and what exactly I do when it comes to my brand called Healthfuel. I'm a clinical nutritionist. So it's not like, typically when we introduce ourselves as dietitians or nutritionists, people think that, oh, ये तो सिर्फ weight loss देखती होगी या फिर ये सिर्फ salad खिलाती है. No, it's not like that. Nutrition is beyond salad and weight loss, and I majorly deal with a lot of clinical cases, be it managing diabetes, be it managing your blood cholesterol levels or thyroid issues or PCOS or something as simple as your acidity issues. So I deal with a lot of clinical cases wherein the target is to achieve a better health, along with which weight loss comes as a byproduct. Weight loss is no rocket science, to be very frank. It's more to do with the root cause of the clinical problems. The moment the clinical problems are good, weight loss comes very easily to the body. And me, We at Healthfuel, obviously, we specifically work on these things and not just weight reduction. And I do a lot of public awareness talks and public awareness webinars and workshops. I do a lot of nutritional talks or menu plans for corporates or schools. And obviously, I have done a lot of corporate wellness programs also. I have done workshop with a lot of corporates wherein we try and analyze the lifestyle and what all lifestyle corrections and meal plan corrections that needs to be done. And I am a certified diabetes educator, so I do work very closely with a lot of diabetologists and a lot of diabetic patients also, wherein we, if specifically I see a lot of pre-diabetic cases wherein our target is to put that into remission. I would not say reversal, I would say remission, and bless them with good health. That's it.
Great. So, how good we are on time? We are good on time, right?
Yes, yes, yes. If there are
Okay.
any questions.
Haha. So we have two more speakers and then few questions in the comments. So which I quickly read out to you, and then we can close for the
Yes.
day. So think invest. You can quickly unmute and ask your question. And for both the speakers, please keep your questions direct and straight. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Hi everyone. Hi Shreya. I just joined this discussion few minutes back, so I just want to check two things. There are multiple institutes which run these courses for nutrition. I mean guidance, whatever.
Right.
For example, K11 or Classic Fitness Academy when it
Hmm.
comes to gym wala preparation and all. So what are the right sources and I mean short-term courses or something like that? So one can at least get complete education on when it comes to nutrition and maybe guide himself or herself by that course. So is there any better place wherein we can get some education, formal education, and some short-term courses, something like that?
Okay. Uh, to be very frank, there are obviously a lot of nowadays a lot of nutritionists also conducting such kind of workshop wherein they they enroll you for maybe 2 3 months and teach you about nutrition, specifically teach you about your body, your nutrition, your health, and how to what all things to include. And this is something I also closely do with my patient, wherein you enroll for something, you enroll for the plan, and then what we do is we work with you closely wherein we help you understand your body, your eating habits, what works best for your body, what is something that you should consume, and right quantity, right time, and everything. So I would say rather than going for the short term courses that you spoke about, I would appreciate if you can enroll yourself with a nutritionist who helps you understand this better rather than the courses, because the courses will not help you understand your body. And if your target is to understand your body, then I think you should enroll yourself with a nutritionist rather than any academy, because um, academy will not be able to give you so much of knowledge. The reason being वो 3 months का course है और हम लोग 8 साल या 6 साल पढ़ाई करते हैं, तो obviously there's a lot of difference between the knowledge that is being shared.
Right, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Got it, got it. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Thank you. So DK, you can quickly unmute and ask your question.
सर नमस्ते मैम। मैम ये प्रोटीन वे प्रोटीन कंज्यूम करना सेफ है क्या?
uh, okay, so when it comes to whey protein, I would not say whey protein is bad. Again, as I said, when it comes to milk or when it comes to whey protein also, understand the source, understand the requirement, and have it accordingly. And obviously the source, requirement, what time you should have, and how much you should have, these factors will be important. We have some good authentic sources of whey protein in the market. You have to try and understand your body's requirement and accordingly consume. Do not overdo with whey protein just because protein is important for your health. Don't load up yourself with whey protein. Whey protein is not bad for health if it is a requirement of the body. Not everyone requires whey protein, but if it is a requirement, then you should have it in a correct quantity, correct portion, and correct time, so that the absorption is at its peak.
We got Mahima also. So Mahima, you can quickly unmute and keep your question to share. I think she got dropped anyway. So Shreya, like, is there
Hmm.
anything? The sugar quantity in line with the body weight, or there
Hmm.
are a few questions. Although we had a discussion on this, but again,
Right.
people, huh? So is there
So
any?
Kevin, when we talk about sugar, I would say sugar of any kind is bad for health. One. So अगर आप कह रहे हो कि मैं sugar नहीं खा रहा हूँ but मैं jaggery खा रहा हूँ, तो again the jaggery that we get in the market is again a refined form, is way too refined to consume, and the process by which the jaggery is made is again not the old style method where there was some amount of iron also involved. So, sugar is sugar at the end of the day, be it in the form of normal refined sugar, be it in the form of jaggery, be it in the form of honey. So, you have to try and see that you don't overdo with the consumption. If you're just having maybe a teaspoon or 2 teaspoon of sugar in a day, it is fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't have it at all. If you can achieve that, great. But if you want to have 1 or 2 teaspoon in a day, it's fine. But do not try to manipulate that sugar by you telling yourself ki, oh, I'm eating jaggery, so I can eat how much ever I can. Or I'm consuming honey, I can have how much ever I can. No. Jaggery, honey, or sugar. At the end, its baseline is it is sugar. Second, I have seen a lot of people shifting to sugar substitutes or sugar alternatives. I would say rather than going for an alternate option, why not have a simple refined sugar जो आपको पता है खराब ही है and have it in a controlled form, because these sugar substitutes also come with its own side effects wherein they manipulate your gut by microbiome. That is one thing, and second, somewhere it just tries and manipulates your taste buds in a way wherein it tells you matlab, it starts craving for more sugar. So I would say if you want to have sugar, have it in the most genuine form, that is your refined sugar, and tell yourself that this is not good for health but I am consuming. And second is sugars are usually very high in your ketchups है या फिर jams है या फिर अभी तो honey भी जो market में मिलता है, that is also lot of sugar syrup that is there. So try and consume less of those food. Pastries है, muffins है या donuts है, they are loaded with lot of sugar. Plus वो sugar के साथ it is loaded with obviously lot of मैदा, lot of unhealthy fat. So that whole package, if you're eating, then you have to have it in a controlled portion and maybe once in a while and not a regular thing. Or it cannot be like 3 times a week. It can be occasional, restricted to a celebration or an occasion, but not beyond that.
All right. So Dennis sir, you can unmute and ask your question.
Sorry, I joined late. I don't know what happened before. I'm doing intermittent fasting for last 1.5 years, and my uh, HbA1c was around 8.9. Because of intermittent fasting, it came down to 7.1. I am not taking any medication. I'm doing swimming thrice a week, at least 1 kilometer. Can you suggest me any more thing?
Uh, okay.
And,
Uh,
let me tell you, I'm 56-year-old.
okay. Okay. What I understand from the history is obviously HbA1c 8.9 to now it is
One.
7.1. Okay. And you're following intermittent fasting. That's great. The other thing that I would just recommend you is hope when you started with all the dietary changes and the exercise pattern, you have kept, the diabetologist in loop and you're taking care of that, because that will
Not,
be very important.
frankly
Because,
speaking, not at all.
sorry.
Frankly speaking, not at all.
Okay, okay. So I would just suggest that try and see that you are monitoring your fasting sugar at least every week or every 10 days, just to take care that your sugar levels are okay. One. Second, I would appreciate if you can keep a diabetologist in loop with the average blood sugar being 7.1. It's
Hmm.
better to do that. I am not saying that you have to immediately go on a medication, but keeping a doctor in a loop would be very important when it comes to blood sugar management. Third, what I will suggest is whatever dietary changes or whatever intermittent fasting that you have been doing, you can continue. Try and see that you, during that window period, also you try and follow something like a low carb and a high protein diet so that your sugar levels are more balanced. And I don't think there is anything else that I can suggest you right now. But see a diabetologist once, that will be important.
Right. Just one question. I quit total carbohydrate.
Hmm.
Uh, not exactly total carbohydrate. I shifted to bajra and jowar, which contains carbohydrate, but rice in wheat is not part of my daily diet now. What you will suggest?
That is great. If you're comfortable and if you're eating your bajra and jawar roti very happily, then I would not force you to shift towards wheat or rice. If you happen to consume rice or if you want to include rice in your meals, we suggest something like, try and eat leftover rice. Like आज रात को बना है तो कल सुबह खा सकते हो. सुबह आप जल्दी बना के दोपहर को खा सकते हो. So any kind of rice which is open cooked, wherein the excess starch is thrown off, and you keep that rice to cool down for 6 to 8 hours and then have. So what happens is the starch in the rice gets converted into the resistant starch, and that resistant starch would be like a prebiotic for the gut and not like the unhealthy carbs. So if you want to include rice, you can in a very small portion. Preferably balance it with good amount of vegetable and protein along with it. Then it is not going to be bad for your blood sugars also.
Creative, you can unmute and ask.
Yes, sir. Sorry. Thank you. So my question is around like on the sugars that as a substitute that we are speaking here. I know that the sweeteners is also not good because it's a chemical, but it has the same side effect. My question over here is like people are suggesting to have some organic jaggeries like palm jaggeries and all that, which are not refined, but they claim they are organic. So can that be taken as a sweetener?
Uh, as I said that if you are aware about the source and where is it coming from exactly, obviously yes. And the other thing is sugar at the end of the day is sugar, be it in any form. So you have to have it in a limited portion. So be it palm jaggery, be it coconut sugar, be it refined sugar, जो भी है, you have to limit the quantity.
Okay, got you, ma'am. And one last question that I have here is like having like fasting for more than 12 hours. And some people say fasting is good for blood sugars, number one. Some people say no, take a very small portion of food, but in a different intervals of time. So I don't know, like we are confused on that concept. So if you can clarify on that, that will be of a great help.
Sure. So there's something called as circadian rhythm fasting that is something that we see a lot of people have benefited with also. I have many of my patients also following it and they're doing really well. Circadian rhythm fasting, in a simple way, if I explain, it's eating according to the environmental clock, wherein you start eating from sunrise and you have your last meal by sunset. That's what circadian rhythm fasting is, and automatically you put your body into a good 12 hours of fasting phase. And when you're eating during the day, you follow a low carb, high protein diet and eat at regular intervals so that your blood sugars are well managed. Second, the way you said that there are certain studies which says that you should eat every 3 hours if you're a diabetic. Now, as I said at the start, also it would be very individualized to a person when it comes to a meal plan, and I would not say that a particular meal plan is good for a diabetic and is not good. Good or not good is not a question. What suits your body best, what keeps your blood sugars better, what meal plan works best for your body would be something you have to try and work upon and understand. It would be very individualized. Yes, I would say circadian rhythm fasting works very well for certain people. For certain people, it's like if they don't have anything for 12 hours, their sugar levels drop drastically. So it is going to be a very individualized process if you want to understand what works for you.
Right.
Got you,
So,
ma'am.
now we are left with the questions in the comments. So I read it out. So one person is asking about like consistent upset stomach. So, and that is, I think, a very common problem you also talked about. So, what could be a potential like those who are already suffering from it, and what could be like prevent beforehand before going into that phase? So that would be
Okay.
helpful for them.
Constant upset stomach is somewhere you have to sit and understand that there could be some kind of food allergy or food sensitivity because of which you are facing that issue. So, one simple thing that I would suggest is that please maintain a food log wherein you start writing what you are consuming all throughout the day. And at the end of the day, please put in the remarks that how was your stomach today or how was your digestive system today? Did you experience anything, different, or did you experience a stomach ache or diarrhea or loose motion or constipation? So the moment you start, maintaining a food log, you will start understanding your body's interaction with every ingredient. And the moment you understand every ingredient, you will understand whether you are sensitive or allergic to any particular ingredient. So when you start with a food log also, or when you start with a meal plan, start with just simple ingredients to start with. And every 3-4 days, you can start incorporating one extra ingredient. सो दिस इज समवेयर समथिंग टिपिकल टू जैसे हम बच्चों को खाना इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं एट द एज ऑफ 6 months और 8 months. टिपिकली आपको वैसा प्रोग्रेसिव डाइट करके देखना पड़ेगा टू अंडरस्टैंड वेदर यू आर एलर्जिक और सेंसिटिव टू एनी पर्टिकुलर फूड इंग्रेडिएंट.
Right. So Harita BS is asking, I have huge diet restrictions because of underlying chronic conditions. I should have gluten free, lactogen free, iron free. Almost all major food contains iron diet. So I am narrowed down to very few food items. So any food, I mean, suggestions for me?
Uh, I would just suggest him to connect with me over DM so that I can, help him with whatever he wants, he's looking for, because this is going to be a very vast thing and I will require a very detailed history before commenting on it.
Yeah, that would be wise on his part. So
Hmm.
next question, whey protein we already discussed, organic sugar or kind of thing we already discussed, and let me check. Uh, any website or app we can refer to for knowing nutritional info in different food, I mean about different foods.
Okay, so this is something I will strictly say a no to, or I will not recommend. There are multiple apps and there are multiple websites which give you a nutritional value or tell you how much calorie does it has. But you don't have to judge a food only by its calorie, to be very frank, because I have seen so many people, the moment they have a plate in front of them, the first thing that they will do is put those ingredients into a calorie meter, see how many calories is there in that plate, and then consume it and then be guilty about it. You don't have to be so restrictive or so strict or so disciplined with yourself. So calorie counting is something I would not recommend it so much until and unless obviously there is a clinical issue which demands a person to do it. That's a different story. And there are multiple apps. You can just Google it and you will get n number of apps if you want to know the nutritional value or the calories of a particular food.
And there are some questions which are very specific, which might need more input from your end, and not wise to discuss in a forum. So
Right.
those guys can surely connect to Shreya over DM, and surely she will help you with your questions and genuine
Sure.
suggestions. So
Sure.
let me check if there is any question left, or we are
Hmm.
done. Acha, which kind of edible oil is good for cooking? I think we discussed,
Hmm.
but again, if you
Yes.
want to take 30 seconds
Uh,
for it.
yes,
And,
yes.
okay,
So
okay.
when it
He's asking, no, sorry, which kind of
hmm.
edible oil is good for cooking? My spouse is diabetic and thyroid patient.
uh, So it's not specific when it comes to a cooking medium or a cooking oil. It's not specific to a disease. Obviously, if she has thyroid, she has to avoid soya bean or soya bean oil for sure. But the other cold pressed or filtered oils are absolutely safe for her. The other thing when it comes to oil consumption or when it comes to cooking oil is, just because I say cold pressed oil is good or just filtered oil is good, that doesn't mean you can have in a very, very good quantity. The amount would be obviously restricted, and minimal amount that is required for cooking is something you should use. It's not just that just because it's healthy, there is no ratio or proportion to it. You have to have it in controlled manner. Your 10 to 15% to 20% of your calories should come from your fat, not beyond that.
Right. And Chintan Doshi is asking what is good, raw almond or soaked almond?
Uh, Soaked almond anytime, because almonds or any of our nuts are have something called as phytic acid coating on them. So if we don't soak them, we don't break the phytic acid, and if we are not breaking the phytic acid, we will not the nutrients would not be available to us, and somewhere this phytic acid will not let the calcium, iron, or zinc absorption also to happen in the body. So preferably have it overnight soaked. Once in a while, if you forget to soak and you have it as it is, that's okay. But preferably soaked would be a preferred option.
Right. So I see Shriram, Shami, and Mahima. These are getting dropped time and again. So just in case if you want your questions to be answered, you can quickly type in the comments. Otherwise, you can simply reach out to her over DM, and surely she will be responding to your genuine queries. So Shreya, like we had a structure in mind, and it was very exhaustive on part of the questions from me and our attendees. So anything which we didn't discuss and you had in mind before we wrap up?
No, I think mostly, I think we have covered up everything from vegetables, fruits, oils, and cooking methods, everything. Uh, I don't think so. We are left with anything. But if there are any different questions that people want to ask, then I'm open to it.
Let me check the comments one last time. Otherwise, they can we can also
Yes,
think of second round of session to your comfort,
yes,
right? So let
sure,
me
sure.
have a one glance at the comments and then I can tell. What kind of food affects tummy fat? This is one question from Shriram.
Okay. So when it comes to belly fat, I will again give the same answer as the lifestyle, and specifically the heavy meals, heavy dinner, I would say. We are into a, specifically in India, हमारा lifestyle ऐसा है कि we have large meals as our dinner, and post dinner we tend to just go off to bed within 20-30 minutes. So we don't give that enough time for our body to process and digest the food. So see to it that if you want to have a heavy meal, have it during the daytime as your lunch or as your breakfast. That is one thing. Second is, see to it that post dinner you go for a relaxed walk of good 20 to 30 minutes, and keep a gap of minimum 2 hours between your dinner and bedtime, so your body has good time to digest and process the food that you have eaten. Because as the day ends, our body is also gradually going into the resting mode. So if you're just eating and sleeping immediately, obviously you're bound to have a lot of belly fat around. And obviously, um, movement would be very important. So every 1 hour, every 40 minutes, try and move. Don't sit at one place for long period of time.
So, Shreya, one question is on heredity issues. The person who who asked us for this kind of session is asking this question. So, what would be your take? Like,
Hmm.
there are times people have heredity from their families. Can like those things can also be improved with a good diet and good lifestyle?
Yes, 100%. Like when we talk about diabetes, or when we talk about diabetes, for example, if there is a family history, then obviously, if there is a strong family history, then obviously you have the gene in you already. But if you're not, but lifestyle is a major trigger. So if you want to control the gene, somewhere you have to try and manage your lifestyle. So if you are aware that your father or your mother is a diabetic, so obviously you know that you are bound to be a diabetic because you have genes in you if you will not manage your lifestyle well. But if you're managing your lifestyle well, then it is never a problem. So I would say genes is something we have it, and we have it in hereditary, but lifestyle is something which is going to be a bigger trigger for us rather than our genes.
Right. So we pretty well covered all the questions which we had, and from we took questions from our attendees as well. So that was really, I mean, it's almost more than 2 hours, and you are continuously speaking.
Right.
Thanks for that. And surely it was a great value addition to everyone around, because this is one thing which is related to each and every one of us. And surely the takeaways of today's session will surely be helpful for the community. And I would once
Right.
again say, like, please connect with her, and surely you will thank me later for this, because the knowledge she shares over her handle is amazing, and surely that would be a benefit of for everyone. So before we close, any closing remarks or any views over the spaces I conduct?
Uh, I would just say thank you for hosting me on the space today, and it was like a wonderful interaction and wonderful, time to share my thoughts on diet and help you just helped me in a mission to spread this awareness a little more. So thanks to you, Prince. And you're doing a wonderful job by hosting such spaces. I always see that you host it effortlessly and in such a nice way, so really appreciate that. And to be frank, this was my first space, and it was like I was a little anxious before I started, but I think you just took up the flow very nicely and I enjoyed it.
Thank you so very much. And people have been kind to me that I request them and they agree to my request. So I'm just a small medium. All thanks to guys like you are spreading their knowledge and doing their what we say community service, in a sense, like sharing your knowledge with everyone around. So thank you so much everyone for joining. Please do connect with our handle so that more such sessions are easily accessible to you. And also you can subscribe to the YouTube channel over which all these sessions are placed after we get time. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night.